This is Dan Munford for Shop Talk Live. Roy Strasburger, welcome to the studio. Tell us a bit about yourself. You've got tremendous experience in the industry. Let's just hear about it.
Well, my family's been in the retail business for almost 75, 80 years now, and we owned and operated a group of convenience stores, had about 150 stores operating in Texas, and we sold those to 7-Eleven in 2012. But for the last 30 years or so, we've also been doing what we call contract operations. So we've been running other people's stores for them, including multiple major oil companies around the world. We've operated stores in 33 countries and have done all types of retail programs, everything from convenience stores to QSRs to coffee shops, truck stops. So we've had a wide range of operating stores across multiple types of markets and countries.
And like me, you know, we met at the NACS show, I think, the first time, but you've been quite involved in NACS over the years.
I have. I've served on the NACS board of directors. I was on their executive board as vice president of industry relations for a while. And one of the things we really were interested in doing at NACS while my time on the board, and I think this is when I met you, it was trying to expand NACS reach into the global marketplace. We wanted NACS to be able to bring in and give out ideas as to how things were developing. Because at that time, people looked at the United States as the developer of the convenience store and the convenience store leader. But in truth, it was the markets in Europe and in Asia, specifically Ireland, England, Japan, that were leading the ideas of how retailing really should be, from fresh food to product offerings.
Now, you've got massive experience in the industry, Roy. You know, if we take a 25-year look into what's coming, you know, what are the big challenges for our industry?
I think that the convenience sector is facing an existential crisis. I think that we are about ready to see a change in the industry that will make what we now know as the convenience store industry, and certainly the retail fuel industry, be totally different from what we've known it as.
And what are the facts? Existential crisis. I mean, that's a dramatic way to describe the situation. Why is that?
Well, I think there's several things that are involved with this, and today we've got several things that are going on. And the two main disruptors that I think that are happening right now is that, first of all, we have what is the occurring war between Russia and Ukraine, which I think is going to have major ramifications, what I'll chat about. And I think that also the ramifications of COVID over the longer term. If we talk about the Ukraine situation for a second,
right.
Today it's already had an impact on the markets. I mean, financial markets are different than they were 6 weeks ago. The economy's different. If you combine what's been happening in the global economy, from inflation due to COVID pressures, and what is now happening in supply chain issues because of the Ukrainian aspect, we're going to continue to see delays in supply and delivery, which is going to have an impact on what we see in our stores. We're going to see more economic fallout as sanctions take place and take effect in countries. Russia is interrelated with China, which is interrelated with the rest of the global trade and industry. So all of that's going to come together and be affected in a domino type situation. And as I see the economic models from global trade starting to segregate themselves into more trading blocks. So you have Western country influenced trading bloc, you have a Russia influenced trading bloc, you have a China influenced trading bloc. That is going to make people look more inward than more global, which once again affects supply chain. And then combining all that together, increase in pricing, prices, less supply chain opportunities, which means people are going to feel a bigger pinch on their wallet. They're going to have less money to spend. They're not going to be able to spend it the way they want to. So the market basket of what we're going to see of people shopping and doing in their stores is going to go down.
The convenience industry has just been through a crisis, the COVID crisis, and obviously it was a big challenge for us in so many ways, but the industry did quite well. So is the industry equipped to deal with future challenges because it has a kind of innate flexibility, adaptability?
I think it is, Dan. I think that the convenience store industry has the ability to adapt, but I think that adaptation is within a certain parameter or guidelines of what we have to work with. I think one of the big challenges that COVID has brought to the convenience store industry is that COVID affected the way people view working, and that happens in two different ways. One is that people are reassessing what it means to work, or what is the actual price that they're paying to work. So the work-life balance, whether it's worth it. What do they want out of life? I think people are reassessing and re-examining that. I think we also have, which is why we have an impact on service sector jobs at the moment, because people don't want to take those types of jobs, or they don't want to have that kind of health risk in what they're trying to do, and so therefore they're either getting out of the workforce or they're doing something completely different, as opposed to service sector jobs. If people are willing to take less pay to do different work, then that once again that reduces their disposable income, which reduces how much they're going to be able to spend on.
What else have we got to face looking forward, in terms of convenience retail and other challenges?
I think what the big change is now is that the future competitors for convenience stores is with technology companies. And so you have technology companies who are investing in delivery services, such as DoorDash or GoPuff in the United States. And they are the ones who are defining what convenience is. Amazon is redefining convenience with frictionless checkout. It's the technology companies who are creating what convenience is, and they've taken it out of the hands of the retailers.
And I guess if you think about some of the solutions to some of the problems around staffing, the automated checkout stuff that we're seeing Amazon leading with, but also other retailers, Żabka in Poland, for instance, really moving very quickly into that. I mean, retailers can play that game as well, can't they?
Well, they can. But it's a big investment for going into a store for frictionless checkout. And Amazon has recently introduced frictionless checkout or pay grab and go in Washington, D.C. at a Whole Foods market. So they've expanded it out to a supermarket level type aspect of it. But I think that where the convenience sector has a major challenge is that these delivery services are saying you can get whatever you want within 15 minutes at your house or at your job. You do not have to go out to the store anymore. And they're using the data that they're gleaning from transactions. They're using the data that retailers have been giving to these third-party delivery companies by using them as an outsource for the delivery. They're using that to do predictive analytics to decide what you want to buy, when you want to buy it, so they can have fulfillment centers either close by in a brick and mortar type situation, or mobile fulfillment centers that are cruising your neighborhood so they can be close by with the products that you may want to order, and they can have it to your house in 15 minutes. And where I think the change is going to be is that you going to the shop, going to the local convenience store, is going to be a lifestyle choice as opposed to a necessity. So you have to decide, well, I think I'm going to get dressed up and go out to the convenience store today, as opposed to saying, here's my phone, I'm ordering it, it'll be to me in 10 to 15 minutes, and I don't have to go anywhere.
Just one other big challenge, which I think we should also just talk about, is looking at EV and what's happening there. So what's your perspective on that? Obviously, particularly looking at the US market and what you see happening there.
I see that the EV or electric vehicle market is going to grow. I mean, if you pardon the pun, it's going to accelerate tremendously because of what is happening in the Russian-Ukraine situation. And that is fuel supplies are being affected. More importantly, fuel prices are being affected. And as the price of oil goes up and the price of a liter or a gallon of petrol goes up, people are going to be moving more towards electric vehicles as their means of transportation. And so certainly if the price of oil goes above $130 a barrel, I think we're going to see a big spike in the order of electric vehicles. And I think that is, frankly, going to be the death knell of convenience retailing as a refueling location. If somebody's recharging a car, they can recharge it at home. They can recharge it at the supermarket. They can recharge it at the library. And so now you have recharging stations and fueling stations outside your normal industry, so what's the motivation to bring them in?
I think what we're really going to agree on is that gas stations, service stations, roadside retail, if it has fuel as its destination in 10 years, it's going to be redundant. But just thinking about, the shift in the industry, Roy, I mean, obviously those who are focusing on food, it's something that happens 3 times, the opportunity is 3 times a day. We're seeing a lot of success from operators like EG Group and so on, who taking 80% of their business from the food brands that they operate and their shop, and fuel is an add-on to that. It's still important, but it's potentially replaceable, isn't it?
Absolutely. And in the past, the fuel companies, if you retailed fuel, your differentiation was either in the fuel brand, whether you're a major oil company, whether you're Shell, Exxon, BP, Esso, or whomever, or what your backcourt offer was on the quality of your court offer. If you're just trying to go with either electronic vehicle recharging, electricity is electricity by and large. At the moment, we haven't had a big branding aspect of where to get your electricity. So that's not a differentiator anymore. Location may not be a differentiator anymore because people are ordering from home. So the only thing you really have to focus on is on your back lot, your convenience store, your store itself. And I think that the real key to that is what you're going to be offering to your consumer to make yourself a destination to go there. That's food service, that's products, that's customer service, that's the amenities that you offer to your customer to get them to come to you. So I think you're exactly right. For example, we went to a delightful coffee shop today.
We did.
Called Ginger & Co.
Indeed.
And why would you want to take me to that? Why was that attractive to you?
Well, the coffee's good, Roy.
Okay.
It's a nice ambience,
Yep.
Very well laid out store, isn't it? And they bake cakes every day.
And so that's the local attraction. So that's what I think that we've really got to be moving towards from a convenience retailing point of view, is that being the reason why you want to go there. If you're in an urban area and people are working from home, you need a workspace that has good coffee and good Wi-Fi that people can come and hang out with you when they don't want to remote work. You have a good coffee selection that you want to pick up your coffee, either ground or fresh or by the cup. You have an interesting food selection like we've been seeing, but it's got to be resonant enough that people will want to not order it from home, but come and get it from you as you're delivering that, or you're developing that. So hyper-local, hyper-community oriented, be involved in the community so that your community supports you. So support the causes, support the people, understand who your customers are. I think the hyper-local and the community-oriented are the really 2 big keys to be competitive 10 to 15 years from now.
Obviously, you might want to buy an EV, you might like everything about EVs, they're very exciting vehicles, very attractive vehicles. The marketing campaigns are behind them now. The manufacturers are massively geared up to produce them. They're available, prices are coming down. All those things are push factors into EVs. But what we're sort of struggling with in the UK is a charging network that's keeping pace with that. So we've got a, if you like, a bit of a hiatus, haven't we, in the transition because of depending on your charging infrastructure.
From a hiatus point of view, I would argue that we're going to have a lot of people with buyer's remorse. I think they're going to buy the vehicles. They may find the infrastructure doesn't do what they want to do. But the key thing is that those vehicles are going to be in the market.
Yeah.
And so if you buy it and you're not happy with it, that car is still there. So you're either going to use it you're going to sell it and that somebody else is going to use it, but you're getting more electric vehicles into the marketplace, which is going to drive up the use of that and drive down the use of petrol engines.
Roy, just stepping back and thinking about our experience across the last 2 years, I mean, obviously with Shop Talk Live, we tried to keep a global conversation going, which I think this, as we said at the start, this kind of global radar screen, this global conversation is very important to try and figure some of these things out, isn't it?
It always is good for people to talk with each other. I mean, being face-to-face is a huge advantage as opposed to doing it over the video. Yeah. But in getting together, not only is it an opportunity to talk, but it's to see new things. And so, for example, at the NACS show, it's the ideas that are on display that can be built upon to create whatever the new answer is going to be. And that's how we meet the challenges, by knowing what's available and then modifying what's available to adapt it to whatever the situation needs to be going forward.
Looking to the future, Roy, what's your vision? What do you see coming?
My vision of the future is one that is heavily digital, that people are ordering from their apps, from their homes, from their couches, from their offices, and getting anything that they want within 15 minutes of ordering it. It is also a world that there are more electric vehicles, which I think are going to be replacing internal combustion engines much faster than we've been anticipating. But internal combustion engines are going to still be around for another 30 to 50 years. And I see it as an industry that is going to be scrambling to find workers and because of the effects of COVID and COVID-related job decisions, as well as finding customers to actually come into their store. They've got to be able to connect with their customer outside of the store, or be a great enough a destination to bring people into their stores as opposed to staying at home.
Are you optimistic?
I'm always optimistic, but I think we have to be realistic as to what we're looking at. And convenience retailing will always be around. We just have to adapt to whatever the definition of convenience is. And in this case, I think what makes this different is that it's not the industry who is defining convenience. This time around, it's outsiders. It's the technology companies that are doing that. And that's what we have to adapt to. But I have absolutely no doubt that we can adapt to it the same way we've adapted to other challenges in the past.
And know your customer and what they want, I guess.
That always helps, absolutely.
Well, Roy, as ever, it's a great pleasure to talk to you. I'm delighted that you could visit us in our home. It makes a change to me getting on an aeroplane and coming to visit you in the US.
Well, the palatial settings that you have here and the studio that you've got, it was my pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for having me.
See you at the NACS show in Las Vegas, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Roy.